Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm quite honestly not sure where we're going to begin today, but something did resonate with what she said a few minutes ago before we got on the air here. And that's the cost, the price tag. Everything has a cost. They say, well, the best things in life are free. They're not. There's a cost involved in that. Of course, you buy a car, you buy a house, you buy a latte. There's a cost involved, but there's a price for everything. And maybe the universe is saying that's where we should begin today. We'll find out from her. She is an amazing author. I'm going to say she helps people heal, gives them clarity on a lot of this stuff. She's the president and founder of the Marilyn Initiative. And as I said, she's written some amazing books that help with that as well. Marilyn Horowitz is back with us. I'm going to say, how you doing? And I know you got to do pretty good because I can see, turquoise water and a palm tree in the background. But how are you?
I'm very great. I actually am very happy. I'm sitting on my balcony, and this is my actual balcony. In other words, in the morning I get up at 6:30 and I come out and there's an amazing sunrise. And I am looking at the beach and I'm high enough so that I don't see the pool in my building, but I can if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I can have either. And then when I look the other way, about 6:30, I see the sunset. So I have this this is my dream come true. So I'm exactly where I want to be.
Mm.
And it's a writer's paradise because in the morning, my apartment, which faces south, is not sunny. So, and then it gets sunnier later. So I can get a lot of work done. So what we're talking about is how I recently had a big birthday, and I'm the kind of person, I've never had a birthday before. I mean, I don't pay any attention to this stuff. And I'm very fortunate that my physical health has allowed me to have that kind of luxury where I just don't worry about it. But there was something biblical about this moment, and some thought about our allotted time on earth and what our responsibilities as humans are. And my feeling has always been that you do good where you are. That's a good working model. That's probably my motto. And I have always done a lot of good, and I've recently done more good. And I had this birthday, and I woke up the next day very hungover. And you have to drink a lot of champagne to get a hangover. So trust me. And I thought, I don't have to do any of this anymore, because I don't have to be this old person. I'm not responsible for the old story that I have carried for all these years that I've cobbled together. And remember, I'm a story expert. And when I talk about story, I don't mean, what happened was, or, being, beat up or whatever. It's a story about how you overview your life. Do you feel like a success or a failure? Because you hit these birthdays and you're like, well, wait a minute. All the things that I did basically worked out. I'm going to knock wood. I don't have to work. I'm free. I don't have some crappy relationship that I'm dragging around. I have wonderful friends. I'm in the middle of 2 new fascinating books that I'm working on. And I thought, so what is my obligation? And who is that obligation to? And I think this will resonate for you, Steve. So people like you, you're like me, you've always done service. In other words, maybe you had self-interest, but a lot of people benefit. Like when you do something, people get paid, things happen, the world gets to know something. So, and as you say, nothing's free. But on the other hand, just because you're compensated for doing good work doesn't mean you haven't given something to the world beyond, the measure of the money. So I had this experience of, I just explained to you, I had a very bad plantar fasciitis, is when you get this tear in your ligament on one of your heels and you can barely walk. If you haven't had it, you can't possibly imagine how painful it is. But one of my friends who has had both kidney stones and a plantar fasciitis says kidney stones are a cakewalk, pun intended.
Wow.
Compared to the plantar fasciitis. So in order to get rid of it, I realized, because I'm me, that it was a completely emotional issue, and that whatever postural issues, I was carrying, because remember, I'm certified in all these different somatic technologies, and I figured I had to correct my posture. That was my, and so I found someone who does something called Feldenkrais, which you can look up. It's it's a related technique to Alexander. It's a somatic technique, but it has a different emphasis. And the emphasis is to change your relationship with self-love, but not through words or therapy, through literally moving. It's quite a thing.
So I know with the Alexander technique, that's to release tension that
Yes.
we hold on to. But with this technique, describe it again, because I have a question right there.
It engenders by through gentle movements that create a different kind of awareness. It shifts your core relationship with yourself, and what it does, from my perspective, is that basically, to me, biology is a story that was created by our biological imperative to make sure we don't get killed, right? And so all this, what my conclusion after all these years is, all this trauma and all this stuff is completely irrelevant. If you want to transform yourself, you've got to go and figure out where the basic instinct for survival got twisted around, right? Overemphasized, and work there. But I'd never found anything that was, I'm going to say, things are palliative, things can help you. But the point I want to make here is I'd still do it like, once a week with a trainer, but I've had these experiences, and one of them, which was most profound, was to realize that for all these years, because of my societal training or whatever, I had written my life off as basically a failure, and I felt disappointed on this profound physical level. And in neuroscientific terms, you have this thing in your brain. It's actually physically a piece of your brain called the habenula, and the habenula protects you by not allowing you to take chances where you might fail again because you've had such emotional distress and physical distress over it. So that's a longer conversation. Part of my work is how to not trigger that.
It's there to protect you,
even though it's gone dreadfully awry. And so I had this experience of waking up one morning, soon after this major birthday, and suddenly I went, that's not in me anymore. That rating of my life as being a disappointment is not there. It's just not there. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. It's just not there. It's something I've carried since who knows. And I said, well, if it's not there, was it ever mine? And I realized that that's how my mother processed her own life. And that somehow, on some very, biological level, I had taken that on not to make her look bad or to some way to protect her or protect myself. And there was something about doing the Feldenkrais and doing these movements, bi-weekly to move, when suddenly this thing just spontaneously healed itself. Years and years of therapy, I'm like you, I'm a seeker, doing yoga with one ear wrapped around my leg and, all that stuff. I've done all that stuff. Nothing worked. This worked. And it worked completely spontaneously. And I just want to share it. It's just, Steve, it's remarkable. I literally feel like a different person.
What did it feel like at that moment when you had that realization, like, oh, wait, it's gone. It never really was part of me. I was holding on to it. What did that feel like?
I think the relief and the complete delight that it was, I kept poking it, did it move over here? Did it move over here? Did it move from this side over here to that side? Is it hiding somewhere? And the fact that it just was no longer a part of me, that it had released itself. And the point was, nothing was replaced. So that's the thing, that the price you pay is that right, like right now, I would describe myself as a blank whiteboard. Like if I'm a schedule, there's 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, and there are things that I do, but there's no urgency to do the same things. There's this sort of curiosity about, well, at 12 o'clock, why do I do that? Do I have to do that? Do I want to do something else? And so some people would find this terrifying because you suddenly are, I bought this place in Florida where I'm sitting. And once I came out here, it's a very nice apartment. It's like I always wanted to live in a hotel. It looks like a hotel. It's furnished. I love it. But I realized the only reason that I have to go back to New York is because I have these regular tango parties and I have a cat. And that's what I mean about this awareness of, wait, my life, if my life is successful. Oh my God, I can't find it, but there was this cloud for so many years and it's just not there. So if I'm not a failure and I'm not disappointed, the possibilities certainly change, right?
Did you feel like an animal in a cage for quite some time with these things around you? Yeah, the boundaries that we create.
It's the Dylan song, you're in a prison of your own design. Right? I forget which song it is, but it's a lyric from his song, right?
Which one is that?
I'll have to go dig it up, but the lyric is, you're in a prison of your own design.
And that's a song by?
I think it's Dylan. I'm gonna have to go check it.
Hmm.
I'm like you. I live by lyrics. I live by lyrics. So
check that too. Wow.
It was a wow.
Yeah. And what this technique? What's it called?
It's called Feldenkrais, and it was developed by a guy named Moshe Feldenkrais. Again, one of these techniques, it was needed to be done. You can go look him up. It's not as well known because he wouldn't market it.
I've heard of it before many times, but never knew what it was.
I've known about it for years and years and years, and I've done everything but that. And but then this friend of mine who was a fellow tango dancer who said she could help me with my plantar fasciitis. The alternative of hobbling around for the rest of your life and trying yet another discipline was irresistible. And she's a very special person.
Did you, do you at this juncture, even passing, you said a big birthday, in some regards, at this point, do you feel like you're just getting started?
It's a great question. The answer is, I think finally, I am getting started. I think finally I have started. I'm going to reframe that. I think finally I have, years ago I had one of those mystical experiences, which I'll tell you about another time, but it was an opportunity to make a request of the universe for something. And my request was that I be able to live a script without my father being in it. And not because he was so terrible, but because there were problems. And I got my wish. It took a few years, but I got my wish. And the wish was that whatever this person that you're seeing before you is not a person who is any longer even in remembrance of all of these different things, not just of my dad, but of that part of my life that made things so disappointing. And the other part that's interesting, Steve, that you may be experiencing as well, is I don't really care. My desire to achieve something has changed. It's not that I won't continue to write books or whatever, but my investment in my identity as a writer has shifted.
Do you feel that you've come up the ladder of authenticity with all of these techniques and maybe arrived very close to who you really are, whereby previously you weren't you were, but you weren't. And then it just feels uncomfortable. Something's not right. Not really sure what it is. When you say yes to somebody and you really meant to say, no, I don't want to do that. But yeah, sure, I'll be there. Yeah, no problem. That's not what I want to do. I'm not being authentic, but now you're at that point where authenticity.
Right. Well, but authenticity is interesting. And for a small example, I just bought this new place and the shower head was leaking, but it's a pretty shower head. The workman came in to help me. He went to Home Depot and the shower head he brought me was not as pretty as the other. Let's say more serviceable. And initially I didn't like it. I sent it back. And then when I looked at it, I thought, this is the new me. It's serviceable. It is more serviceable than any of the others. And again, to have a different identification with something this small, my identity was not tied up in whether I liked it better. Of course, I preferred the other one because it was the first one I saw. But the idea that my identity was, this is more serviceable. I will get better use out of it. Is a complete change in how I would look after myself, protect myself. You see what I mean? In other words, the self relationship is so different.
Would you say that even in the shower head example, and it could be anything, that you held on for a moment to that better looking shower head because you, and let's say you had guests come in and I want them to see the better shower head because that's me, or I think that's me. Um, and you realize I don't really give a crap. It does it work? Is it look nice? Is it functional? All right, we're good with that. You think that you had that realization?
I think that's been a general realization, which is that the a lot of the basis for which I do things has stopped being done.
Yep.
For example, I thought, oh my God, I have to go back because my cat's there and I'm a cat owner. All these identifications. But ironically, the same lady that helped me with the Feldenkrais, because we would work in my house on my yoga mats, the cat was always there. And she's about my height, which is not much. And she has a similar energy. And so uh, last time when I left, I asked her if she would come over and feed the cat at the same time that we would work. And the cat likes her so much. I mean, they're not like, petting buddies, but he's not experiencing any trauma when I'm not there. So it's amazing how it.
Mm-hmm. I
And
heard this week, and it seems like it's in line with what we're talking about. Now, we often hear in terms of energy that love is the highest vibration. Joy is up there. They're pretty high vibrations in terms of energy.
sure.
And then somebody said to me, "No, I don't. They're high in vibration, but I believe this is what they said to me. I believe that authenticity is the highest vibration." And I said, when you think about it, if you're who you really are, then the love and the joy are there with you. And if you're not really being who you are, you come down some notches in terms of the energetic vibration. I'm kind of buying it. What do you think?
I think so, but I think the mistake is that joy and happiness. Again, this is the further. In other words, I would not describe myself as either particularly joyous or particularly happy. I would describe myself as very centered and very uh,
Content?
I'm not a content is not a word that's good in my vocabulary. I'm some not my
I don't
primary.
mean settle. I don't mean settle.
No,
I
no,
mean,
but I am at peace. In other words, I
yeah.
understand. I understand that basically whatever this means, this is what there is, and that once you get there and you stop needing a story about it, including be here now or any of those temporal things, then something else happens to you, and then I don't know how to describe it to you, but I feel like in this part of me back here, it's quiet. I don't feel that there's a whole you know village living back there. I just feel like it's quiet back there.
It sounds like you've arrived where you've found peace, and you're you. I'm going to be tell you we've talked quite a few times, Marilyn.
Yeah.
I get it. You're away, Florida, and beautiful place, but you look radiantly comfortable and happy. Just happy with you, like you've shown up. All right, I'm finally here. It took a while,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
I feel it. I really, Stevie, you and I have been on this quest, individually for years and years and years, and I did it 100%. I nailed it. I'm
Mm. And part of that was that place that you're in right now. And I something says I want to. I need to ask where you are. Did you manifest that?
first,
It seems so.
but I don't believe in it. But another thing, I'll tell you two quick things. This will help you. Number one, I don't believe in manifestation in the sense that you mean it. I believe the way I think you do it with it, but you call it something else. The manifesting is that you are a certain way. You don't in other words, you receive it. All the stuff about, visualizations and stuff like that, it's all good because it changes your frequency. But I genuinely, after doing, because, my thing is neuroscience, it's my interest. And I have come to the rather unromantic conclusion that everything is about frequency and that it really doesn't matter that you're working on how you feel and stuff like that is not very useful. What's useful is to notice your state in the sense of the felt of the awareness, to be very involved, to accept the fact that for practical purposes, your body is your subconscious. And if you want to manifest in a way that is generative, the idea is you have to be holding the frequency. It doesn't matter whether you're imagining your bank balance going up by $10,000 or, you're meeting Mr. or Miss Right or whatever, or, losing weight or whatever. It's more what you're seeing in me right now. In other words, you have to hold this frequency where you are very much in yourself and you are available. And it's not that pleasant because remember, I always say that being with yourself is like being in an arranged marriage. You're not necessarily with the person you would have picked, right?
That's good. I'm going to remember that. That's
Helps
really
a lot.
good. Yeah. An arranged marriage because you can't get out of it. You're stuck with that person, instead of saying, did you manifest something? Would it be more accurate to say, this is the way it's supposed to be? Like where you are seems, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, you could say that my current word of the day, since that's what I practice is this every day. I have a word is receptive. In other words, that I wake up in the morning and I do the hug. I love you, Marilyn. We'll always be together. We'll always be safe. We are enough. And then my word of the day are things like receptive. And then I will get up and do my little thing and whatever. But all day long, I'm aware of. Am I receptive to this? And I don't mean am I being a yes person or do I like it? Just am I available for an opportunity?
Sure. Open. Are you open to it?
Yeah. So
I think I shared with you last summer, went away with myself for the first time ever.
Yes.
Went twice. Beautiful Caribbean island. Very inexpensive, but wonderful. I'm going to go back again another month and change.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I don't own the place. It's an Airbnb. I feel like I do. But I thought I would say, yeah, I manifested this. I don't know about that. But when I'm there, it's the way it should be. It's everything is what I need, right down to the white plastic chair that overlooks the hill when I look at the ocean.
Exactly.
It's where it's these pieces, the little restaurant that I'm the only person there. Guy comes over, serves me, brings me a cerveza, and it's the way it should be. And it just seems like, if we don't want to call it manifesting, that's the way it should be. Where you are at this point in your life, passing that big birthday, maybe having an epiphany. How wonderful that this is part of the mix. And that's the way it should be.
I think the way it should be is great. I mean, I think of it as making yourself receptive.
Agreed.
But it's just language. It's really, as you see, it's an emotional availability. I think that's very astute.
And what's receptive? Being open to something, instead of being closed to it. But how are you open to it? You have to fully know yourself and get to that point where that you've arrived. You've gotten to that point. I'm so happy for you, at that place and where you are. I was in that city a couple of weeks ago, and just I don't know what it is, but there's a vibration there and a good one.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I was looking in Miami because I'm a dancer, and there's a big dance scene there or whatever. And I just, I come from New York City. I'm like, why would I want to live in another city? It's redundant. I have my place in New York. And for me, when I saw this one, I was like, because I really got disconnected. I had a love affair and it was out in Fire Island. And when I was done with that, I kind of got rid of him, Fire Island, and everything else. So that was a part of myself that I really had, sort of put away. And when I walked into this apartment, I looked at 20 apartments in this area. This place looked just like the beach house I used to rent.
Mm.
Even though it was on the fourth floor and had a balcony and whatever, it was just like, oh, home, right? Like where you said, like as it should be, right?
Home. There you go. Wow. Great conversation today. And I'm going to encourage everybody, your thoughts on what we're talking about, manifestation, the way it should be, even arriving or having epiphanies about yourself. Instant feedback, Steve@gmail.com. How do we find you, Marilyn? You have amazing books,
Thank you.
You offer so much great insight. What's the best way to connect?
My website is marilyninitiative.com.
Thank you for today. Lots to think about. And again, congratulations on where you are, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Steve. I
right.
think we have a few more of these, so I'll see you next time.
You got it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.